Hi, today I'm going to be talking about the issue of social media overuse and its detrimental effects. So if you have your phone handy right now, and if your phone happens to be an Apple device, then there should be a setting that allows you to see precisely how much time you've been spending on social media on a weekly basis. Now, most of us, and I know I'm no exception, when we see these numbers are shocked. So the question is, are we as users of these devices okay with these numbers? I'd say generally not. We spend far too much of our time as it is already on our phones, but specifically we spend far too much time on our social media on our phones. So the main points that I want to make today are, number one, that the problem is that the overuse of social media is well known to be detrimental to our health in a number of crucial ways. Number two, the cause is that the social media company's business model revolves primarily around the collection and the sale of your personal data. And number three, that the solution to this problem is deceptively straightforward, but it is to restrict social media use across the board, but particularly with adolescents, as they are most susceptible to the negative effects. So many of us have vague apprehensions about the amount of time we spend on social media and its effect on us. But what exactly is this issue? The issue, as I stated before, is that the overuse of social media is detrimental to our health in a number of crucial ways. So, for example, the rate of self-harm has been dramatically rising since a point in time which directly coincides with the appearance of social media on our smartphones. A quote taken from the article, "The Role of Online Social Networking on Deliberate Self-Harm and Suicidality in Adolescents, a Systemized Review of Literature, last accessed December 18th, 2020. It says, quote, "The increase in suicide rate parallels the simultaneous increase in social media use." In an article from centerforresearch.org titled "Social Media in Adolescents and Young Adults' Mental Health," retrieved December 18th, 2020 also, puts forth the following. With 13% of 12 to 17-year-olds reporting depression and 32% reporting anxiety, mental illness is a concern for adolescent health. Now, it's important to note that the literature on specifically a direct causal link between all these negative effects and social media use, so that is a direct cause and effect relationship, is unclear. However, a correlation as such is strongly present and accounted for. The same article, "Social Media in Adolescent and Young Adults' Mental Health," tells us that the research has several times indicated this positive correlation between depression, anxious symptoms, and social media usage. So why then do we spend so much time engaged with these services? So my second point number two, was that the cause of the problem is the social media business model. Now, the commonly expressed phrase in Silicon Valley is that if the service is free, then you are the product. So companies' sole focus is on maintaining user engagement as a means of collecting sellable data. From the article, "The Attention Economy, What It Is and What It's Doing to You," from Timely Blog, "Our attention learns to tune into interesting, unpredictable information in our environment and pass over normal, predictable parts." It goes on to say, "This has led to attention economy tactics becoming increasingly aggressive." Now, the engineer's incentive then becomes to instill addiction, and this addiction is fostered by intermittent delivery of social approval. And it's also worth noting that in practice, the apps function similarly to Las Vegas slot machines. So we of course see the infinite scroll feature, the rate at which notifications are delivered to your home screen, and of course there's the scroll to refresh feature. SCLhealth.org published an article titled "The Pros and Cons of Quitting Social Media," and it states rather poignantly, And this article was last accessed December 18th, 2020. Social media makes you a lot more aware of what is happening in your world, and if you feel like you don't stack up to those around you, it can have a negative effect on your self-esteem. So, we've discussed the problem and we have discussed the cause of the problem, so what is the solution? Simply put, we can walk away from these services and delete them from our phones. But like I said, this is deceptively straightforward because in practice that's actually a lot more difficult because of how ingrained these services have become in our lives. Now, again from the centerforresearch.org article, quote, in one study from 2020, people who deactivated their Facebook account for a month reported lower depression and anxiety, as well as increases in happiness and life satisfaction. And again from the Timely blog article, which advises optimistically, knowing how much time we spend on these platforms is the most powerful first step, because most of us have no idea how much time we really waste on Facebook, and that was certainly the case with me in the case of Instagram and Snapchat, and I think many of my peers have the same experience. So, just as we banned teen use of cigarettes and alcohol, I think we can put more stringent restrictions on the age at which we allow adolescents access to social media devices. So, to reiterate, I believe that the overindulgence in social media apps is by design, and it is to our great detriment. The main points I made were, number one, that the problem is our use of social media is well known to have detrimental health effects to us. My second point was the cause is the social media company's business model and how they collect your data and they sell it, and their incentive is to keep you engaged as long as possible. And I discussed that the solution was to walk away from these apps, which of course is easier said than done. So the first crucial step in solving any problem is of course in identifying the problem and acknowledging it in full. Many of us already have the vague sense that we give too much of our time to our phones, but what we must do now is begin the fight to take back our time and our lives from these social media companies. Thank you.